All right, and we're live. What's going on, guys? Matt here. We are recording the HYROX Lab, the Rocks Lab podcast via Perform Better. It's our first episode. We're going to go a quick introduction on just who we are and how we got into HYROX. So, Katie, just starting with you.
Yeah, I'm Katie Duke. I'm a physical therapist here in Boise, Idaho. And really, my kind of hybrid journey started with Spartan races, and then I got into DECA. And then about a year and a half or so ago, I did my first HYROX, and I loved it. I was pretty hooked. So, ran a couple pro solos. We've done some mixed doubles, and then I just started doing some open solos too, which are really fun.
That's awesome. How about you, Grayson?
Yeah, I kind of started out in the hybrid racing world actually with Spartan Race, as many of us did, similar to Katie. And then that kind of led to DECA Fit Racing because that obviously is under the same brand as Spartan Race. But that was kind of the result, DECA Fit was the result of HYROX coming to the United States and Spartan trying to respond with a hybrid race. So HYROX was really kind of the eventual goal for me, at least in hybrid racing. So I was actually a coach for outdoor athletes and DECA-Fit athletes before I started racing and coaching for HYROX. But now I've got, I think, up to 10 HYROX races under my belt. I've had a chance to compete in the Elite 15 with Colin Stiefer in men's doubles. Katie and I got to race, co-ed in the
Yeah.
Chicago World Championship last year. So I think we're very much in it at this point. As diehard HYROX athletes, personally, I'm trying to pursue a individual Elite 15 experience and honestly at a place where I want to win all HYROX races around the nation.
That's very cool. So, especially between the two of you guys, you have a lot of experience, expertise, and knowledge in the HYROX realm, and I'm sure you've made a lot of connections over the past couple years, like with the people you know, the network you've made within the endurance fitness racing sport.
Hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I really think that the experience that we bring to the table for HYROX athletes and anybody listening to our podcast here is that we've been competitors and racers for a long time. Like before HYROX existed, we were training like this and we were preparing for things like this. So, yeah, we've got the background and the experience to, I think, really deliver some quality information here.
And one other piece I know we didn't mention yet is Katie and I are both physical therapists too. So I think
Yeah.
another huge piece of this show, this podcast, is going to be not only to bring on live guests, but also from our expertise in a rehab recovery background, which is huge in racing and training, like overcoming injuries, avoiding injuries, making sure you're pushing as much as you can and recovering properly. I think is going to be huge for people to listen to and learn from.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to lean into the injury prevention for people. That's something I'm super passionate about in my clinic, and I think there's a lot we can teach people.
Totally. And then from both yours and Grayson as well, just the talking about as the show, as episodes go on, progression of programming for specific HYROX races or even other types of fitness races, what type of programming looks like for certain movements, but also probably like week to week as you're prepping and periodizing for a race.
Yeah, programming and training for HYROX is complex because we love it because there's so many things in a HYROX to work on, right? It's an endless project. And so throughout the, as this show progresses and goes on, we really want to cover all of that. We want to talk about the kind of workouts you should be doing that'll be successful for you from each day, each week, each year, and what it looks like to really periodize and plan for HYROX year in and year out as we build towards longevity and the best version of ourselves. But there's also a ton of little details in the race itself. And I think the show is going to be unique because here at Hybrid Camp 1625, gym we have here powered by Perform Better, we have all of the HYROX equipment right in front of us. And we're going to be able to demonstrate how to use all of that equipment effectively in the race. So we're pretty pumped about that. I think it's unique. I don't know that a lot of shows are doing that right now.
No, that's awesome. What did you say the name of the gym was? HYROX?
Hybrid Camp, yeah, Hybrid Camp 1625. We Katie and I have been running hybrid camps here in the Valley, and that was just kind of the most like descriptive name of what we do because we train for HYROX and DECA
And Spartan.
and Spartan.
Yeah.
And so we've just been calling it Hybrid Camp. And it's kind of the name that people what people know us for.
So
now,
that's
right?
been our thing. Every Sunday morning, we have a group that meets at 6:30 or 7 a.m. And it is, I mean, we say these are the fittest, most hardcore hybrid athletes in Idaho.
For sure.
Probably in a lot bigger space than that even.
Yeah.
They're there, they're grinding. We're doing 90-minute sessions on a Sunday morning. And so we've gotten to move that here to our gym at home.
Yeah, so 1625 just kind of actually honestly is our address.
right.
So it's like it's how we describe.
Sounds cool.
It sounds so cool. We
I'm
think.
trying in my head think of like 1625. What date? What famous date?
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
doesn't mean
that's
anything.
before the U.S. I don't know. The address. Cool. All right,
Yeah.
so we know your address, so we'll show up.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Show up. We'd love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Idaho is cool because I feel like also a lot of the listeners may be from all over, whether it's East Coast or throughout. So we're putting Idaho on the map with the show.
Yeah.
as well, too. So for today's show, we have a couple segments that we wanted to get to. Kind of more broad strokes. I know in the future we want to have some really tactical information we want to get to you guys. But, as the first show, we kind of wanted to do more of an introduction. So we wanted to talk about HYROX racing in particular, but the value of racing, the capability for improved fitness, the accessibility of HYROX to gym goers, and the testability. So I love Greyson. This is not me. This was Greyson's good alliteration. Maybe that's not the right word for it, but
Sure.
theme.
Yeah.
And then talking about a little bit about the experience, culture, and really the why behind this. So that's kind of the goal for the show today. So first segment is capability. So and I think a broader stroke with this is for let's start with you guys, Katie and Greyson. What does HYROX mean to you, and thinking it through that lens or that spectrum of capability as a human? What does it mean for you for like your functionality, your fitness? And what does racing mean to you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's a great question. I think for me, I mean, we are very active people. We have 3 kids. Our hobbies are all outdoor. Like on the weekends, we're not sitting inside with football on. We're like out in the mountains, out trail running, taking the kids on the canoe, taking them mountain biking. I think for me, like what my training does is allow me to live the life I want to live outside of training and outside of work. As a PT, obviously we also like want to be an example of that, like being fit and well, like living the life we want to live. And I think the diversity that training for hybrid races gives you in the movements of like pushing, pulling, jumping, running, or not biking, but pushing, pulling things, like all of that just allows you to move better in your daily life and pursue the stuff that really matters, like being able to carry your kids when they need you to, or run up the hill as they're, struggling on their bike and they need a little push up. So I think that's what we think about a lot when we think about like, yes, our training, we want to be able to go hit these paces and run these races and win some stuff because it's fun and we're competitive. But what really matters is at the end of the day, we want to come home and run around with our kids.
Yeah. Katie and I talk all the time about how hybrid racing, and particularly HYROX, leads to a certain level of freedom in our fitness that a lot of other athletic pursuits do not. And especially like if you think about like the people engaged in HYROX, we're talking about, I think, predominantly people 20 to 60, it's a pretty broad range, but we're grown-ups, right? We're not kids. And I think the beautiful thing about that is that as an adult, running equals freedom. And there's a lot of sports, there's a lot of pursuits, a lot of hobbies in our culture that where running just isn't really a significant value. And in HYROX, it is over 50% of the experience, right? Like you have to be able to run in order to complete a HYROX. And like that alone is enough for me to get pretty dang pumped, because I want to give my clients and my people more freedom through their fitness and the ability to not just say like, hey, I can run, but maybe I want to run. Or even if someone needs me to run, I can. That's a big deal, right? Like think about how many people in our culture, if someone needed them to run, be like, I don't even know where to start. Like I can't even like accelerate, right? So add on top of that, the ability to run is so important, but to carry, to push, to lift, to be able to move weight and be able to do that for a duration, I think is unbelievable. One of the things I always say, capability desires that I have for myself, I want to be able to run a half marathon at any time in any shoes that I'm wearing. Like if someone wakes me up and says run, I'll be like, I'm running. I'm ready to go. I mean, I want to know that I can lift and I can carry. I think honestly, like a very personal and great example of this is Katie and I actually got married last Saturday. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things about it was a very small wedding with just us and our kids. And there's a picture of Katie. She's got like the train of her wedding dress in one hand and a pair of shoes also in that hand, like one of our kids' shoes, and a toddler in the other arm, like a 40-pound toddler as she's walking to her own wedding ceremony. I was like, that's hybrid capability right there.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
absolutely. That's functional fitness right there.
Yeah, it's very
Mhm.
functional. It's so
Yeah.
true.
The most functionally fit wedding you've ever seen.
Yeah. I like one thing you said there too, just to reiterate on it, something along the lines of a lot of disciplines, a lot of sports don't allow you freedom,
Mhm.
freedom in life and freedom in your hobbies, where some of this fitness style racing, in fact, helps it.
Mhm.
And I think an example that pops into my head, and nothing against any other sport, obviously, do what you love, but let's say if you're
No,
like,
we can slam other sports here. I
yeah,
think that's fine.
if you're
Knock
really
it out.
trying to like dial into like powerlifting, for example, if you do too much running, it's going to take away from it. Or if you're really trying to go into only like distance running, you probably want to be careful with how much you're lifting. Lifting is important, but how much you're lifting. So the balance of having this kind of like hybrid style approach is a nice way you can, everything gets love from a fitness
Mhm.
standpoint. And so I was actually, like you were saying, like from an injuries perspective, but also from a well-being perspective. I was running today, and it's cold out. It's 30 something degrees, and there's a little piece of black ice, and I was running with my dog, and I slipped, and I went to post on my arm, and I like caught
Mhm.
myself. I'm like, oh, good thing I didn't fall. And then I'm like, if I was a pure marathon runner and I didn't really have good upper body strength, I could have just broken my elbow or my arm or something like
Sure.
that. Like, I'm glad I like have some level of like base fitness to it. So just your point just made me think of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and along those lines, I was thinking like with injury, like we could talk about injury prevention. When you're just doing one thing over and over, the likelihood of an overuse injury is so much higher
Mhm.
versus with hybrid training. I mean, I've been so lucky to have my coach right here to talk about things all the time. And it's like, if something creeps up and you're training for a HYROX, guess what? There's 8 other things to work on besides running. Like you
Totally.
can modify stuff, you can and I've noticed, I mean, this has probably been my health year and the year that I've mostly focused on hybrid training versus when I used to do like just half marathons or trail running. It was like, oh, my high hamstring is always hurting me.
Yeah.
I'm always battling it, but I got to keep running. So
Yeah.
I think there's like a big piece of that for people, especially people who are newer or people who are older. There's just so many options to not get hurt.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. And I think we kind of already have touched upon this a little bit, but obviously we're saying what we love about the HYROX experience and functional fitness. What just to kind of like unpeel the layers a little bit. What brought you guys to like we talk about your love for HYROX? Like what got you guys into HYROX? I guess in the first place.
I think it
Yeah,
was
for-
because it scared the heck out of us.
Yeah, legit. Yeah, we were scared the first time.
Yeah. And maybe that's like, and that's probably the allure of HYROX in general for so many
Yeah.
people, is it just seems so big. Like
Yeah.
it seems like such a massive undertaking when you look at the weight of the sleds. And if someone says like, yeah, I want you to do 100 meters of lunges, like that hits you in the brain in a different way.
Yeah, or 100 wall balls. I mean, I never did wall balls
Yeah.
before my first like training block for a HYROX. And it
Yeah.
was so intimidating. And that was fun. Yeah. It was
So
fun.
I always tell people like to just be able to complete a HYROX is a massive success. Like to start one and finish one is huge. Like I think it holds like similar weight to like a half marathon or a marathon where it's like it's a huge success to have completed one of those. And so here we are as like I was a professional Spartan race athlete. We were both collegiate athletes. We were fairly high level DECA athletes, and we were scared of HYROX. And that just like for crazy people like us,
Yeah.
it just clicked. We're like, yeah, we need to
we need to beat this race.
yeah, we need to beat the race itself. Like it wasn't even about other people at the time or even being competitive. It's like we want to
Mhm.
do this and accomplish this thing, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. What did you guys play in what did you guys do in college? What was your background there?
I
Good
played
D1?
I played soccer at University of South Carolina.
Very cool. Okay.
Just a small
Just a
school,
little school over on the
collegiate
East
experience.
Coast. I don't know.
I was actually a decathlete in college. So I started out as a 400-meter runner, and then transitioned to being a pole vaulter. And eventually, when you put those things together, you just kind of become an athlete like a decathlete. A small university here in Idaho that Katie is convinced is
It's
like
NAI.
NAIA or anything but D1, according to Big Dog D1 over here. But
Oh, that's great.
This is kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was more like intramural sports guy in college, but my background going from CrossFit and then now doing Ironman training, that HYROX just found its way there because like kind of just a mixture of everything. And I think the CrossFit discussion, I think is a good discussion for another podcast, but because obviously there's a
Sure.
lot of back and forth between that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it just seemed to fit. But yeah, I was just curious. That's cool.
Yeah.
Next talking point, which you kind of left off, which is a good transition, which is like just the undertaking of the HYROX event is a massive accomplishment. Yet the flip side of that coin is let's talk about accessibility. The accessibility for a HYROX event for the average lay fitness person or just like normal gym goer, what the undertaking is for the accessibilityness of HYROX.
Yeah, so I mean, like he said, running is half the race, about. So obviously running is a huge part of it. But the thing that we like about it is the movements are not totally crazy. Like pushing, pulling, being on the rower, lunging, wall balls are just squats. Like for most people, you're able to do those movements. So there's no crazy overhead barbell snatches or, super heavy weights. You can pick your division. You can be in the open division, which is a little lighter weights. The entry point, I think, is like where HYROX hooks people too, as far as like being able to do a doubles race. The
Mm-hmm.
teams races are so popular. They sell out so fast because you're able to split the work. So it's just a little less intimidating and you have someone you can train with, race with, share the work with. So I think like the entry point for racing is just so much lower in HYROX.
Mm-hmm. Man, I would say I always tell my clients that the movements in HYROX are as old as time.
Mm.
And that's the beautiful thing about like this like functional fitness race is that like if you were to go like out in the mountains and try to like carve, like imagine like you're one of the first humans in existence and you're trying to like carve a living out of the earth. You are doing farmer's carry. You are lifting and pushing and pulling and moving up and so like all of the movements that exist in HYROX are just like movements that resemble what it means to be human, actually. And so when HYROX says that they're a fitness race for everybody, I take that pretty seriously.
Mm.
And it is intense, certainly. And especially as you move from maybe a doubles race to open to pro weights, it's intense, there's no doubt.
Mm.
But I think what we've seen in HYROX is, I have clients who are in their 70s and 60s who are preparing to race in HYROX. And I think that just tells you it is certainly an accessible race. And one thing that I love about HYROX is their adaptive racing abilities and how they really aim to cater the race to different capabilities. And we even have friends who are preparing for like adaptive division racing. So I think that in itself is really cool about the organization. But lunging, squatting, throwing, carrying, pushing, pulling, that's just like a part of being a human.
Mhm.
And that's the most accessible fitness movements on the planet.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. I love the accessibility of it compared to like some of the other races out there. If you train for it, you can pretty much like even if you have to go down to one of those adaptable or open divisions, like there is a race for you if you're
Mhm.
looking to do it, which is pretty cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
So next kind of talking point, which kind of leads into that, is which is why I also love the nature of HYROX is every race is designed to be repeatable and mostly the scores you get should transfer race to race for the most part. So the testability of it, I think, is another cool topic to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it would make sense. Sorry to cut you off. It says perform better, right in the bottom right corner of our screen here. With this podcast being powered by Perform Better, I think we all know that we may be reaching out to an audience of people who have maybe never even done a HYROX before, and maybe are like encountering this podcast because they have a curiosity about it. So before we talk about testability, it might make sense to talk about what the actual movements are and what we're testing, right?
Yeah.
So Katie, would you mind like start with like what it is? Like what are we
Yeah.
actually doing in HYROX?
So it's an 8-station course. So before every station, you run a 1,000-meter loop. Usually it's two laps, depending on the race course. They're all just slightly varied in where you start and where you go into the stations. But the 8 stations are a 1,000-meter ski, and then there's a sled push, 50 meters, sled push or sled pull, 50 meters, and then burpee broad jumps. And that's a motion we can go over in a future podcast probably. And then after that, it's 1,000-meter row. And then you have a 200-meter farmer's carry, and the weights vary depending on whether you're a pro or an open, and male and female. And then after that, there's 100 meters. So 100 meters lunges?
Yeah,
100 meters lunges. And then it ends with 100 wall balls. And also those weights are all, again, based on what division or category you're in. So most people liken it to like a half marathon effort. So I think the average time for someone's first finish is about 1 hour and 40 minutes, maybe.
With there's a 1K run between each
Right.
of
So
those
yeah,
stations.
1K before every station.
Yeah. So one thing that HYROX does really well is, even though the layout might change from location to location around the nation, around the world, is that it's typically always right around like 8.7 kilometers, including the runs and the transitions. The weights are always the same. So when you show up, it's going to be the same kettlebells, the same wall balls, the same sleds. And it's an organization that really is doing their best to make it as consistent as possible each time that you show up. And so I know we're not diving into like a HYROX versus CrossFit comparison here, but one of the reasons that we love it is because you get to race against you every time you show up. You get to race against your previous self. And the testability is so cool as an adult, because there's really not that many opportunities as like a lifelong athlete to see how you're measuring up against yourself over and over again in such a dynamic racing space. So that for me, like, think about this. My fastest solo time in a pro is a 55:33. That's honestly pretty darn fast. And that puts me at the edge of like a pretty competitive experience where I may be racing some of the top dogs in the United States and really around the world. But honestly, when I wake up in the morning and I'm excited about HYROX, it's because that number pops into my head and I think, I wonder if I can beat it. Like, how am I going to go faster? And I look, and HYROX presents you with all of your race data. So when you finish a race, right,
Very cool.
it'll show you how fast you were in everything,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know about you, but I get pumped about like the race itself and the fact that it's me against me each time that I show up.
Yeah. When I think like we have a couple of friends who are pretty diehard in the like savage races or Spartan races, which are totally different. You never know what to expect when you're signing up for a Spartan race. It's like, it could be a muddy trail that day. You could fall off every obstacle. It could be a new obstacle you've never seen before. But with HYROX being so like standardized, we had friends that were like, oh, isn't that going to get boring? And it's like, no, it doesn't, because you finally get your running and then you're like, my sled, I got to get that sled better now. So you just are constantly like so many stations and aspects of it to work on. And then really the training for it isn't just about the race prep, but like we have off seasons where we're like building strength and not even touching stations, so that, okay, now my squat's so much better. And that's going to translate to my wall balls and my push and all that. So like you get to work on so many things throughout a year of training that it just keeps you engaged the whole time.
Oh yeah, that's so true.
Super fun.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the analytics you get post race from the
It's
HYROX
great.
website and from some other websites that will like do it for you. It's insane, and you can go back into the race and be like, oh yeah, that third lap I was absolutely smoked. That's why I was slower on the
Totally.
way there. You can like look into it and paint a picture of the race.
Right.
So it
you
is
get
really
hooked.
cool.
Yeah. We nerd out on splits constantly. Like, we're like, oh, I lost 10 seconds there. I'm not going to do that next time.
Right. And it's just I'm going to hit this point one more time because it really matters to me. I think it's such a great way to actually just be a lifelong athlete. And and as PTs, I think you guys believe in this too, but I tell my clients all the time, like, I'm tired of the mentality that says like our glory days and our like best athletic years happened in like high school. Because really, like, if you look at the percentages of people that go on to play college sports, it's pretty small. So culturally, we've kind of adopted this mindset that I play sports as a high school kid, and that's really important. And my parents and my grandparents, they're coming to watch me race. And like, that's like the highlight of my athletic career. And now for the rest of my life, through my best years, I'm going to sit on my butt and watch other people play sports while I stare at my screen. And I just refuse to accept that. I don't like it. I don't want that to be my life. So I think HYROX really offers people the opportunity to be an athlete in the way where when you walk through the doors of that venue, you are valued. Like, this experience is legit, and it's legit for you as a lifelong athlete, right? And so you get these metrics, and the testability for you means that you have something to pursue. And pursuit is so important to the human experience that if you're watching this and you're thinking like, man, I'm not pursuing anything, you better get off your couch.
Totally, totally. I love that. That was a that I mean that was a great transition to the next point of just the whole premise of HYROX in general, which is the experience and the culture. And I mean, I think you hit experience right on the head right there. But to even talk more about just the culture itself, I mean, from my perspective, like even just going to these races, how well they're put on, I think the culture of the whole event has been done really, really well. But I want to get your guys' input on that.
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much everyone that walks into a HYROX race, I mean, if you haven't been to an event, you should watch one on YouTube. They're super cool. They do them in big convention centers, but it never feels empty. Like they have a 3D aspect that we always talk about that we love, where they have these big arches, so the room is just filled, and it's just like the most fun energy. And I feel like everyone gets to feel like an elite athlete. They get you get to start in this cool tunnel at the starting line. They have this what's her name? The woman who pumps everyone up. She's at every race. She's on the mic. She's pumping everyone up in the start line. And they send you out, and I think everyone gets like, I'm an elite athlete experience right now as they're out on the race course.
I think, oh, that's so true. I want that for people. I absolutely want that for people. I think one of my favorite things about walking into a HYROX venue and kind of what I want for people is like and then this is not to like shame anybody like in Idaho or whatever, but like I've spent a lot of time surrounded by people who just don't think like me, or maybe thought that I'm the weird person because I want to work out twice a day or because I care about my capability, right? I think that's maybe a cultural problem, but one really cool thing about walking into a HYROX venue is that if you are passionate about your fitness and passionate about your physical pursuits, when you walk into a HYROX experience, you're surrounded by people who think like you, right? Like it's a way to be like, I will just walk in and I think like, these are my people. And that's not to shame anybody who's not able to run, 8K. Because I'm talking about mindset. I'm not talking about physique. I'm not talking about look. I'm talking about pursuit. And when you walk into a HYROX experience, the culture is a culture of people who are pursuing the best version of themselves. And that's what pumps me up. I like being surrounded by people who are after something. And I live my whole life trying to encourage people to be after something, right? So that to me is like the coolest part of that community is I walk in and I go like, these are my people.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree with that. There's something you said there too, as far as like as the pursuit. And I think this dives deeper into figuring out, and everybody's different, but what's your why behind like what like this race? So like everybody has a different answer for this, but I know there's something you as coaches for athletes to dive into frequently. But what do you find as far as like for HYROX itself? Is it tough for people to kind of like peel back those layers a little bit and get back to like, hey, this is my why for this race?
Yeah. I think our why changes. I think our why changes like with every race, with every year. Your goals change as you get older. I think, having success in a race might change, might make you want to be more competitive and be like, oh, I want to see if I can podium next time.
Totally.
And I really want to see how I compete against other people. Or if you're coming back from injuries, it's maybe like, man, my why is just to like get back out there and train for something again. So I think our whys change like throughout our seasons of life. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely right. I think for me, I've found personally and as I train people, individuals who are drawn to experiences like this have been the kind of person where fitness pursuits are kind of a key habit in their life that trickles into all of their other habits. And I think when you study habit formation, you find that we all actually have these key habits that kind of lead our character development and lead the charge for the kind of person that we want to be. And so not to make HYROX seem like more important than it is, because it really is just a sport, and to me it is just a game. But for me personally, my fitness pursuits serve as a key habit where I get to test myself and hopefully be shaped into the kind of person I want to be when I face hard things, or when I want to quit, or when I don't want to get out of bed. So I think a lot of our why probably should come back to that. Like this is a key habit for who I am as a person. Like it's shaping who I am as a person. And that is not to say that my time in HYROX is the key identifier of my life.
Sure.
Like being a HYROX athlete is not how I identify myself.
Sure.
The why is so much bigger than that. It trickles down even to how I'm going to treat my kids when I'm tired, what I can handle for them. And honestly, like it even affects like my peace and my joy as
Yeah.
I become capable of enduring hard things. And that might be a pretty like deep and intense why. But
Sure.
but there's even like to Katie's point, that might be the foundational why for me. But then there's other times where I show up in a race, like the why today is I'm gonna run a 55 and I'm gonna smoke these fools, right? So there's very competitive
Yeah.
why behind it as well.
Yeah, when I mean, like as a mom and as a woman, I think that like we have this new generation of women who are like, our why is not just that we're a mom, and it's not just that
Mhm.
we are like there, like one identity. Like we can pursue our own goals and our own strength and be our own person and have things we're passionate outside of our kids and our
Mhm.
family. And I think there's like a really cool example that
Mhm.
sets for your kids and your family of like, yeah, I have goals outside of all of you, and
Mhm.
this is my time. And sometimes that's my why. Sometimes I'm like, no, just I'm going to go train for an hour and a half and then I'll be back, you know?
Mhm.
And I think that's a really cool thing too. And again, how your why can shift throughout your seasons of life.
Absolutely. That's a great answer.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, and I think to both of your guys' point is like, in many ways, probably the deeper your why is, the probably more important it is. So when you're
Hmm.
getting into that onto that deeper level, it's like, and like you said, figuring out where it fits into the balance of your whole life. Like my entire life isn't revolving around High Rocks, but it's an
Mhm.
important piece that can kind of trickle into everything else. As far as like, if I can work on the pursuit of my goals and fitness and function by hitting these goals on the HYROX platform, then it can help with other
Mhm.
things in life too.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's good. And I know Grayson, you had mentioned too, like the helping athletes figure that out and coming back to that on the days that
Mhm.
are hard and the races in the races that are hard on that sixth, seventh, eighth lap is like, all right, this is my why. This is my why. Keep pushing,
Hmm.
keep pushing. I think it's super
Yeah.
important.
And man, so this podcast is going to cover a lot of things, and and there will be a time where maybe we're a lot lighter and we loosen up a lot more, and we're gonna
Totally.
talk like racing details. But one thing that I always do, because I think it matters, is I always try to bring people back to this why as
Mm.
we start a journey like this, because I can't tell you how many athletes I have who have another person or presence in their life who are trying to tell them that their athletic pursuits and their fitness pursuits are not worth their time or not worth their money. And so like I've been coaching enough people to just know that like almost every week I'll have an athlete come into my gym or message me and say, there is an energy somewhere around me trying to convince me that this is a waste. And so I come at that with the exact opposite energy. And I tell people like your fitness pursuits are worth your money and it's worth your time and it's worth your commitment because it's so much bigger than just physique and appearance. We're talking about health, we're talking about longevity, we're talking about life. And here's the deal, like we're all going to spend our money on something. That's just like I don't care how much money you have, you're going to spend it somewhere and you're probably going to spend it on a hobby or something that you like. So I remind my people who are like you might be traveling from Idaho to Dallas and there might be a significant investment and then that race may not go exactly the way that you want to, and I don't care and I still think it's valuable because we're investing in this version of ourselves that we believe in and we're investing in this like future version of ourselves. So I'm not going to be this like intense and passionate about the
Yes, no,
why.
he's absolutely
I
going to be
might
this
be.
intense all the time.
I might be.
I would have to every day.
Okay, for sure.
Fantastic,
Sure.
actually.
I'm saying like we're gonna cover other things,
Yes. Yeah.
but this part really matters
It
to
does
me. I
matter.
think if we're gonna do like a first episode, let's talk about why we're doing this in the first place. And then
Totally.
for the next 30 episodes, I'll talk about how to push a sled. But for right now, I want people to know this is worth your dang time.
Absolutely. I just finished reading Nick Bare's book, Going More, and one of the things he mentioned was every race is he learns a lesson from, which I kind of
Yeah.
I picked. I think I was kind of getting that vibe from you too. Like every training session, every race, everything you sign up for, you're learning things about yourself from fitness wise, but it's also you're growing as a person through all these
Mhm.
hard things, all these endeavors. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So as far as today's show, that's all we had for segments. So I mean, I guess we'll leave you guys any last second closing comments for the
Man,
audience here.
I think we're just really excited.
Yeah.
We're obviously super passionate people. love getting to talk to everyone, every athlete, like of every level. We already have some good ideas for some like guest segments that are going to be super fun. And we want this to be just a great experience for everyone, from like top athletes to beginners to people who just want to watch us talk and be ridiculous together.
I think that's perfect. I think you nailed it. I got nothing to add.
I think you nailed it. Awesome. Well, this is live on YouTube and the Rocks Lab podcast. We will be signing off. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Stop that there.